Well, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is back in the Middle East. He is urging Israeli leaders to respect international law as it battles Hamas terrorists in Gaza. President Joe Biden's top diplomat reiterated the U.S. remains committed to supporting Israel's right to self-defense so that October 7th never happens again. White House Correspondent Owen Jensen reports. Owen.
Tracy, good evening to you. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken met with Israeli leaders discussing hostages and humanitarian aid. He said his immediate focus right now is to extend the pause to get more hostages out of Gaza and more assistance in, adding there are many families whose loved ones are still being held captive.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken sitting down with Israeli President Isaac Herzog in Tel Aviv. The secretary saying that from day one,
we have been focused relentlessly on trying to secure the release of hostages from Gaza and from Hamas.
Those hostages, some 240 of them, taken by Hamas during the brutal October 7th attack on Israel that ignited the current war. Today, Secretary Blinken also offering his condolences to the victims of a shooting carried out by two gunmen who opened fire on a bus station in Jerusalem, killing at least 3 people. The suspect shot dead at the scene by 2 soldiers, Hamas claiming responsibility.
As you said, we're reminded yet again by the events in Jerusalem today of the threat from terrorism that Israel and Israelis face every single day.
Secretary Blinken also meeting with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, saying the U.S. will continue support for Israel's right to protect itself, but urged Israel to take every possible measure to avoid civilian harm. According to the Hamas-controlled health ministry in Gaza, which does not differentiate between civilians and combatants, more than 13,000 Palestinians have been killed since the war began. And Secretary Blinken meeting with Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas as well, focusing on efforts to increase the delivery of humanitarian aid to Gaza and condemning Jewish settler attacks against Palestinians in the West Bank. And back at the White House in the press briefing room, National Security Council spokesman John Kirby tells reporters.
And so we're going to continue our efforts with Israel, with Qatar, obviously with Egypt, to support and extend this pause as much as we can and to help secure the release of all the hostages held by Hamas terrorists.
Now, while in Israel, Secretary Blinken also commented today on former Secretary Henry Kissinger, who just passed away at age 100, saying he was very privileged to get Kissinger's counsel many times, adding Kissinger was extraordinarily generous with his wisdom, with his advice, and that few people were better students of history. At the White House, Owen Jensen, EWTN News Nightly.